Hey guys, Anime Elitist here, and I'm writing this just after I've finished watching Ajin. Oh man, my heart is still racing. The show is simply amazing. It's one of those rare shows that makes you feel legitimately sad it's over. It's one of the best shows I've watched in a really long time. Alright, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's get the overview out of the way first. So Ajin is split into two 13-episode seasons, the second of which released fairly recently. Now, Ajin is a Netflix original show, and so is available in all of these languages. For the people who saw the first season and are wondering about whether the second is any good, my answer is a resounding yes. The show has gotten more epic in every way. The fights, the suspense, and the plot are just some of the things that got even better. The first season was almost just a warm-up for what was to come. The story does pick up right away with the second season, without any sort of refresh. So if it's been a while since you saw the first one, I would recommend either rewatching it, or at the very least taking a peek at a plot summary so you don't feel lost. For those of you who are new to the show, the premise of Ajin revolves around creatures with the same name. Think of them like humans who reset or respawn right after they die, making them effectively immortal. They also have some other cool powers, but I'll save those surprises for this show. These beings now aren't considered humans by the government and the civilians, and so have no civil rights. They also have horrible experiments performed on them to test the effects of drugs, weapons, and other stuff. They make good subjects since they can be killed and revived just a few seconds later. They still do feel pain, however, and so suffer greatly if they are captured. It's the conflicts between the Ajin and the government that drives the plot of the show. But let me go into a little more detail about what exactly makes the show so good. What makes it so good is that it respects its audience. What I mean is that it works on the assumption that the audience is comprised of mature and intelligent people. The show doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't try to dumb down the tactics and strategy to make it so that even a slow 5-year-old could understand. It manages to be very cohesive without feeling condescending, and the plot keeps you on your toes. It's quite hard to predict how an encounter will end or what the characters will do next. The show also doesn't waste time with silly gags or cliches, and instead relies on its story to keep viewers entertained. Overall, it's a fast-paced, mature show. Another strength of the show are the characters. All of them feel distinct and different with unique personalities, outlooks, and motivations. People actually act intelligently and cleverly, but can also be indecisive or conflicted, just like in real life. All the different characters in Ajin show different facets of human nature. Some are selfless and some are petty. Some are cruel, some are kind. Some are smart and some are slow, just like in real life. The show also doesn't shy away from showing the darker sides of humanity. How people don't care about things that don't affect them. How people kidnap and torture one another. How they sell each other out for money, child soldiers, and human experiments all act to remind us that the world isn't as pretty as it may seem from the safety of our own homes. And on a side note, the main villain is almost on the same tier as the Joker, and that's not praise that I give lightly. As for the protagonist, he is smart, logical, and resilient, but both still have weaknesses and flaws. The combat in Ajin is just a pleasure to watch. It's highly tactics and skill-based. The fact that Ajin can't die changes the whole game, and all the fighting on both sides revolves around this very fact. Watching each side try to outsmart the other is a wonderful dance that is just a little reminiscent of Death Note. The fighting overall feels very natural, and not like the outcome was pushed by the plot at all. The grip in Ajin is pretty high. For the first season, it starts as around a 7, and towards the end of the second season bumps it up all the way to an 8. Let's just say that I wouldn't recommend watching this show the day before a big test. And as for the B&B rating, it gets 2 bullet holes for plenty of blood and a good dose of gore. The narrative format is unbroken. As good as Ajin is, it's not perfect. It does have some tiny plot holes. One example is those silly security camera footage enhanced scenes. And there are also 1 or 2 fights that feel like they ended just a tad unrealistically. But the only reason these discrepancies were noticeable, if you can really even call them discrepancies, is because the rest of the plot is so watertight. Now let me address the elephant in the room, the animation. It's an acquired taste at best. This may be a deal breaker for some, but if you choose to overlook this show because of the visuals, you will be missing out. Overall, I give this show a 9 out of 10, and a recommendation to anyone who likes small unit combat, enjoys more serious subject matter, realistic characters, and can also overlook the animation. As for any further sequels or a Season 3, I wouldn't get my hopes up. The end of Season 2 had a very final feel to it. It tied up almost all the loose ends, and I don't really see how they could continue the show. But if it does get continued, I'll put it in the description. Alright guys, that was my review of Ajin. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and a comment down below. Tell me what you want to see next time. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya.